Okay, so in this video I want to talk about the three mortises. That's your rigor mortis, algor mortis, and liver mortis. All three of these mortises start the minute you die. So in the fresh stage, at 0 to 3 days, is when the mortises start and really kind of where they finish. Okay, so first one I want to talk about is rigor mortis. So we're going to just hop right here to this slide. So rigor mortis is when your muscles stiffen up. So it's the rigidity of your skeletal muscles stiffening up. When those cells start breaking down, it releases elements, sodium and calcium and all sorts of goodies. And when this stuff releases, it once causes those muscles to stiffen and not to relax up. Okay, so there's a time frame that you need to understand about rigor mortis. And there's a table on the next slide. And this was the table that I asked you to kind of memorize and get an idea of when things are happening. Okay, so first off, approximately 2 hours after death is when you start to see the stiffening of the body. And at that 2-hour mark, the muscles that stiffen up first are your smallest muscles in your face and your neck. And then it extends to your arms and your legs. So in that 2 to 6 hours is when your smaller muscles stiffening up. Your head, your neck, your face, into your arms, legs. Okay, right here, 2 to 6 hours. Now between 6 and 12 hours is when your larger muscles start stiffening up. So that's your legs, your thighs, your butt, the core. That's when that starts to stiffen up. So when you hit 12 hours, that's when you're at peak rigor. That's when your entire body is stiff. Okay, so this picture right here, it's a good picture showing you that this individual is in complete rigor. The entire body is stiff. So we would estimate 12 hours for this to occur. Now we understand that environmental factors can speed up rigor mortis or slow it down. So this is just an optimal, normal individual that died in normal temperatures. He wasn't running. He wasn't in extremely cold temperatures. So this is what we'd expect. Okay? Now with that in mind, if somebody has been running, jogging, working out, and they die, rigor mortis will be accelerated. It'll speed up. So instead of it taking 2 hours for muscles to start to stiffen, it might take a half hour. It might take less. Whatever muscles are being worked out at that time, rigor mortis is going to be accelerated in that area. Okay. All right, so we got 2 to 6 is when your smaller muscles start to stiffen. And at that 12-hour mark is when you should have complete rigor, okay, full body stiffness. And then it starts going backwards, okay. It takes it a lot longer for it to soften up than it did for it to stiffen. So now we go back to our table here. Okay, 15 to 36 hours is when you get loss of your smaller muscles. So if you look at this, that 15 to like 24 is when your face, your neck, your outer limbs, arms, legs are starting to soften up. But your core, your thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, okay, the pelvic cavity, your thighs, all of those are still going to be nice and stiff. And then once you hit 24 to 36 hours, when your larger muscles are starting to soften. So then you can look at the point where at 36 hours, anywhere to 36 to 48 is when you can have complete softness of your body and rigor mortis is over. So you're looking at rigor mortis is going to be done after 2 days. So that means it's still in the fresh stage of decomposition where the whole body stiffened up and then the whole body is loosened back up. Okay, so you kind of want to lock that to memory, the time frame. So complete rigor at 12 hours. All right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The second one we're going to do is liver mortis. Now, liver mortis, a key term you have to lock into memory is livity. And livity is just the pooling of your blood. And this is where you get reddish, purplish coloration on your body after death. Your blood is no longer being circulated, so it starts to pool, and gravity is going to allow it to fall down to the lowest area of your body, and that's where it settles. Your cells are breaking open, and so you're also getting the blood coloration, the red coloration that's seeping into your surrounding skin and tissue. Okay. Now, livity You look at the time frame on this one, is after a half hour right here. After a half hour, so within a half hour of an hour, within a half of an hour, that's really bad. But within 30 minutes, you're going to start to notice livity is starting to take place and starting to happen. And then once you hit the 12-hour mark, it's set in stone, it's permanent. So wherever that blood pooled at that lowest part of the body, it's going to stay there. So let's just look at a couple pictures. Let's go to this one first. So you look at this, and once again, if this victim was at the medical examiner's office, the ME's office, they look at this and go, we know she was lying on her back. If she's lying on her back, that blood pooled to her back side, which is your posterior side. And now we're at the upper back, so it's actually the posterior dorsal side. So that blood pooled here and here. So she was lying on her back. Now, if you notice, there's some wider areas right here, and there's a good indication that that was the part that was pressed up against the ground harder. Wherever there is pressure, compression, okay, the coloration is going to disappear. You're not going to see it. It's not going to seep into that area as easy as another spot. So you don't see it in that spot. So same thing, kind of go look at her back. The wider areas where her shoulder blades probably pressed up against the ground. This area was the lowest part of her body without being compressed. So that's where you see that purple livity. Okay. And as an investigator, you like livity because it tells you the position of the victim's body at the time of death. And if something like this happens. So you walk into a crime scene and the victim is now lying supine, which means towards the sunshine, head up. So they're lying supine. They're going to look at this and go, this body has been moved from the primary location where he died to a secondary location because of the livity. You can see this purple coloration. There's no way this person's going to have this purple permanent coloration by laying on his back. So odds are this victim was lying on his side, and this white stripe either is by his arm putting pressure and he was laying on his arm, or it's on the ground, the pressure. So this victim was definitely lying on his side at the time of death. And then somebody came back and rolled him over to his backside after that 12-hour time period when it was permanent and changed the position of the body. So we know the body's been tampered with, moved, due to this livity. So that's an investigator. They like that. Now this picture is kind of a little graphic, but you get an idea that this victim was sitting in a chair. So you got the compression of the bum onto the seat. This white stripe, that's from the belt. Compression on the skin, and there is the body resting against the back of the chair. And so there's your livity happening there. All right, so that's livor mortis. Rigor mortis, the very last one is algor mortis. Now, algor mortis is just your body temperature cooling at the time of death. The minute you die, you're no longer moving, you're no longer creating ATP, you're no longer making heat, so your body's going to cool. The average temperature you need to memorize is that your body will drop 1 degree Fahrenheit per hour. Okay, 1 degree Fahrenheit per hour. Now, scientifically, it is a little bit more, but because of all the elements that are involved, sometimes it will drop faster than 1 degree per hour. Sometimes it's slower than 1 degree per hour. It just depends on what is happening and all those external factors. So on average, you need to memorize for my test, the state test, it's 1 degree Fahrenheit per hour. Okay. All right, so if we look at this, a good example here would be if once again at a normal everyday situation, your body's at 98.6 degrees and you have been dead for 3 hours, that means your body dropped 3 degrees. So now you're sitting at 95.6 degrees is your body's temperature. So 1 degree per hour. Okay, and that's your algor mortis. All right, so there's your 3 mortises. What I'd like to do right now is I want to pull up one of your Canvas assignments. Let's get here to assignments. We're going to go to the rigor, algor, livor mortis assignment. Okay. All right, so let's see how we do. The first one is rigor mortis, a stiffening of your body. So a body was found with no evidence of rigor. No evidence of rigor. So two scenarios. Either the victim hasn't been dead long enough and rigor mortis hasn't even started, or it started in such a small area you don't notice it, so less than 2 hours, or the victim's been dead for a long time, greater than 48 hours. So you got two scenarios, either not long enough or it's rigor mortis is over. Okay, a body was found, number 2, body was found exhibiting rigor throughout the entire body. Whole body stiff, complete rigor, 12 hours. Number 3, a body was found exhibiting rigor in the chest, arms, face, and neck. So smaller muscles, not the butt and the thighs. So you're looking at that 2 to 6, maybe 2 to 10, right? And then your rest, that 6 to 12, that 10 to 12 is one of those larger muscles. So once again, you put it in a range. But we definitely know we're not at peak rigors, so I would expect a number less than 12. Okay, and number 4, a body was discovered with rigor present in the legs, but no rigor in the upper torso. So that means we're on our way down. Rigor mortis, we already had complete rigor, and now our smaller muscles have already softened, and our larger muscles haven't. So we're looking at that 24 to 36 hours, okay, where rigor is starting to go away. Okay, let's look at number 6. The victim was found in a snowbank alongside a road. His body is rigid. How long has he been dead? Take in consideration the cold temperatures. So we know complete rigor is 12 hours. But if he was found in a snowbank, guaranteed that slowed down rigor mortis, a slowed down decomposition. So it would have taken a lot longer. Oh, get rid of that. It would have taken a lot longer for that process to happen. So we're probably looking at 14 to 24 hours to get complete rigor because of that cold temperatures. Okay, let's go to number 7. So this is body temperature. So this is no longer rigor mortis. This is algor mortis. So the victim's been dead for 14 hours. What would you expect the body temperature to be, assuming they were 98 degrees at the time of death? 14 hours, 14 degrees, 98 degree Fahrenheit minus your 14. You're looking at 84 degree temperature. Okay? And it'll keep dropping until it reaches whatever the outside temperature is. All right. Number 9, would the livity be permanently set in the victim if it's been dead for approximately 6 hours? So no, livity doesn't get set until after 12. So that's that. All right, I know I didn't answer every question, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of an idea of your 3 mortises. Okay. All right.